A very good evening to one all present here. We are back with the second day of the series Case Studies in Naturopathy Clinical Practice. So, the topic of today will be naturopathy aspects in diagnosis of a case. And yesterday we were looking on modern aspects in diagnosis of a case. And I once again heartily welcome the resource person of the series, Dr. Dikshita. Over to you, ma'am.
Yes. Hello, a very pleasant evening to one and all who have attended the meeting. For people who don't know me, I'm Dr. Dikshita. I've completed naturopathy and yoga from Vyasa University, Bangalore. So yesterday my session was on the modern diagnosis part of case series, and today so today it will be on naturopathic diagnostic aspects of a case. So basically, as naturopaths, once we complete your modern diagnosis, you'll be coming into a set of treatments where you have differential diagnosis. So to confirm what your differential diagnosis is, you can use naturopathic methods instead of modern methods. So once we start with naturopathic diagnosis, we always begin with something called the iris diagnosis and pulse diagnosis. Facial diagnosis can help you, but it's not yet easy to diagnose completely and believe facial diagnosis alone. So what we do is we prefer either iris diagnosis or pulse diagnosis. I usually prefer pulse diagnosis as a method. So in iris diagnosis, what you can obviously do is look into the patient's iris. And as soon as you look into the iris, start analyzing where you see the lesions or the reds in the iris and the density of the iris, also the color and structure of their iris, if it is perfect or if there is any abnormalities which you can detect in the person's iris. Once you start detecting those abnormalities, what you have to do is immediately start sketching it down in your case sheet. Just draw a rough diagram of the iris and sketch it down so that you can mark the abnormalities. Once you have marked the abnormalities, later you can compare them with the basic iris chart and decide which organs are abnormal or what kind of abnormality is in that particular organ based on the discoloration which you have found or based on the shape of the abnormality or the signs which you have found. So that will be for iris diagnosis. And next, which we'll be going into is something, a very vast subject called the pulse diagnosis, which we do in naturopathy. So you all would have started taking pulses by now, which in allopathy, we just count for the rates or rate, that is the number of beats per minute. But in naturopathy, it's quite a different topic. So how do we usually find the spot to take the pulse is always prefer the radial side. Radial side is where your thumb is. So the first step, what you do is identify your styloid process, the radial styloid process. From that styloid process, you move internally to the medial side of the arm. So once you have identified that point, that is this point, from there, keep one finger above, one finger below, and one finger in the midpoint. Those three will be the locations for you to do your pulse diagnosis. So what do you do? Step one, identify the radial side near the thumb, then palpate for the styloid process of the radial side. Then with your middle finger, move inside. That will be the middle location. And then one finger above, one finger below. Those three are the locations of pulse diagnosis. So once you've located these 3 points, the next step is we have 12 different pulses. So 3 on each side and each 3 is divided into 2, one deep and one superficial. Okay, so what you do is once you've identified these locations, so superficial pulse, you can just keep your palm, that is your fingers just flat and you can find it. But when it comes to deep, what you have to do is press your fingers a little inward. So this will be your movement. For superficial, it is like this. And for deep, you have to press your fingers a little more inside. So this is how you differentiate 2 different pulses in the same point. For superficial, flat, and for deep, it is a bit inward. So once you have identified this, you should also know which location indicates which meridian or which element in that particular person. So right hand usually has fire major, the earth, and fire minor. And the left hand usually has the metal, wood, and water. So every time, remember, hollow organs will be your superficial pulse and the solid organs will be your deep pulse. So once you have identified, you know the location, you have learned everything. So how can you start diagnosing a person based on pulse? What are the things you have to observe? So before you start observing the pulse, there are a few precautions which you have to take. Never wear a watch or never allow the patient to wear the watch while you are analyzing the pulse. Because whenever they wear a watch or anything on their arm, it disturbs or restricts the blood flow to the arteries and veins. So what you have to do is make them remove their watches and things. And when you measure the pulse, you have to sit straight across from the participant. The same way, the patient also should be sitting straight with their back straight. And you both should be perpendicular, like facing one another straight across from each other. Only then will you be able to identify and get the correct pulse. And second step will be, first always start with identifying the middle pulse in both the hands. So use this finger which you are most sensitive to, maybe your index, or for some it may be their middle finger. So keep that on the middlemost pulse and start. So once you have identified the pulse, then what you have to do is check for the speed at which you're getting the pulse. Step 1 is speed. Step 2 will be check at which intensity. Intensity is how hard it is hitting against your finger. See, each of these three positions, you will be able to feel a pulse. Even now, you can just keep your hand over your hand, like fingers over your hand and check it. So what is the intensity is on each finger, you will have different kind of intensity with which the pulse will be hitting against your hand. So that is how you measure the intensity. The higher the force it hits against your hand, the greater the intensity. And the lower the force it is hitting against your hand, that will be lower the intensity. So every time you have to notice the speed and the intensity. So for beginners, this usually helps. So when you start for the first time in pulse diagnosis, your easy method will be like only take the pulse of earth from this right hand and wood from the left hand, which is the middlemost pulse in both the hands, so that it will be easier to start differentiating what kind of pulse it is. So you will be comparing the speed and intensity between the right hand and the left hand. You can start with that. And when you start taking pulse diagnosis, how do you tabulate is you draw a table stating all the elements in the left side, like fire major, earth, fire minor, metal, wood, and water. And then there you have to start grading it depending on what you feel. Again, taking pulse is very, very individualistic. For me, I may grade that part to be of 10 intensity, and you can score it as 8. So it depends. But how do you come to this basic normalcy for that particular person is you have to see all, okay, which is high in this person and which is low in this person. And there will be a middle value coming among in other rest of the organs. So with that, you should always normalize which is high, which is low. So whenever if the pulse is very fast and the pulse is very high, it may not obviously mean the organ is abnormal. It may just mean that there is hyperactivity in the particular meridian. For example, if fire is very high, it means the digestive system is active, which usually is once you eat your food, your digestive system will obviously be active. So at the time at which you take your pulse is also very, very important. Always prefer taking pulse early morning in an empty stomach. That will be easier for you. If the patient is not available early morning and they are only available after food, you can always reduce the degree of the pulse which you're going to give for the digestive system. That is the fire major, a little by 2 to 3 points, you can reduce in their grade at which they give. But that will only help when they are highly experienced in it. But as we all are beginners, I think it will be better if you could take the pulse in your early morning in an empty stomach in the patient. So once you have noticed all these 12 different pulses, now how do you relate this with the diagnosis of a disease? So you should know which element is concerned with which type of tissue in the body and which type of organ system in the body. So for that, you have to learn your basic 5 elemental theory from your books. But now I'll just give a like a revised version of it, what I usually use in my treatments. So when we come, you can either tabulate it and write it and keep it also. We always compare fire meridian to the digestive system. Okay, so the fire meridian will be for digestive system. If everybody could mute their things, it will be comfortable. Yes, fire meridian to the digestive system. Next, we always compare the metal meridian to your respiratory system. That is the lung and large intestine, which we measure. That will be for your respiratory system. Next, the earth meridian will be for your blood and fluids, not the circulatory system per se, just the blood and body fluids. You compare earth to blood and body fluids, not the water. Always remember. So water meridian, we usually compare it for bones. All the bony areas, that is the skull, the spinal, so the vertebral column, all those will be for water, along with nervous system. These two will be for water meridian, the nervous system and your bones. Again, next will be your wood. The wood we usually connect it with the tendons and liver, along with skin. The liver, skin, and tendons will always be for the wood meridian. So, and yes, that's it. Those are all the elements which we compare. And next is the tissue type. What kind of tissue is usually connected? So, as I said, earth is for blood and the fluids. So, any abnormality in the blood and fluid, for example, a person with anemia, with reduced hemoglobin or iron content, it will be shown in the earth meridian. A person with high blood glucose levels in the blood will be shown in earth meridian. At the same time, a person having diabetic neuropathy, that is a damage in the nervous system, that will be shown in the water meridian. So that is how you have to link it. With each system, you should know how to link it. And to know whether a particular pain a person has, if it is in a muscle or because of the tendon or because of the bone, you can always use these three meridians. Muscle is usually related with earth, tendons with the element wood, and thirdly, the bone is with water. So if you're not able to decide if the pain is because of the bone or because of the muscle or because of the tendons or that is the joining sockets in the joint, you can always check for these three pulse diagnosis and differentiate what it is. And then you can easily give your treatment for that patient. So this will be very, very easy. So based on this, you can always check or confirm whatever diseases or this will be a confirmative test in naturopathic diagnosis while taking a case. Again, there is a third type. One is higher intensity or lower intensity. The next one will be higher speed or the lower speed. The third one is whether the element is congested or deficient. When a particular element is congested, what happens in the pulse is, if you're placing your fingers like this, and for example, the earth is congested, what you feel is the pulse flows like a form of mountain in between. So you will be feeling that blood usually pools in that particular location where you're taking the pulse. So pooling is different from higher intensity. Higher intensity is the force with which it hits. Pooling is like there is a lot of blood which flows only to that particular point and then moves away freely. So that when it occurs, we say that particular meridian is congested. For example, if the deep element here we usually call spleen is congested. So how do you interpret this? If spleen is congested, it means there is toxins in the blood which is not getting filtered. Again, if the kidney meridian, that is the renal meridian, is congested, you can obviously say the person is either prone to CKD, or a person with CKD will have congested kidneys in the meridian, which will help you in confirming your diagnosis of that particular patient. So this is how you always relate pulse diagnosis with your differential diagnosis in order to get to a confirmatory diagnosis. So either you can use pulse or iris. Again, the third type is the tongue diagnosis, which is usually not very helpful in most of the cases unless or until you're very experienced with it. And it is a very bit, it's a little more difficult to interpret tongue diagnosis also. Other than that, you can, facial diagnosis is there. It is only based on encumbrances, but encumbrances again cannot be used as a confirmatory test for a particular case or for a particular disease. The only condition where I've seen is there is left encumbrance usually seen in rheumatoid arthritis, which is sort of proven by the man who found facial diagnosis himself. But then only this is the only thing which I have seen. Maybe if any of you have seen any different types of encumbrance in a particular patient, you can again say this at the end of the session. So this will be facial diagnosis. Next, a particular type of diagnosis which I use. There is no term for this. I just call this as the lifestyle analysis of what I do in a patient. So every time a patient comes to you complaining of symptoms, since they know that you're a naturopathy doctor who will have a different lifestyle from them, and they'll always know that you also practice yoga, they tend to fabricate stuff and they tend to exaggerate what they eat or what they do at home. For example, the patient may or may not even eat fruits, but what he will be saying is, in our lifestyle, in our home, we eat a lot of fruits, we eat a lot of vegetables, our diet is so good, so and so, we're so healthy following and all this. So this may be partly true and partly false, which we cannot confirm. So I do something called as lifestyle analysis. So what I do in lifestyle analysis is nothing. I just ask them to sit and say their schedule from when they wake up in the morning till they sleep at night. You cannot lie when you're saying a schedule in a rhythmic way. So basically, a person will, to you in prefer, he would have said, I always do yoga in the morning, but then he'll be like, I wake up by 7 or 8 in the morning. So that way you can always eliminate that the person does not have any physical actions going on or something like that. So listen to his entire schedule. If there is any like confusions of what his diet is or how many teas or coffees he had, or any questions you have about his any other sleeping habits or something, you can always confirm it with lifestyle diagnosis. This is not a proven kind of theory, but I always use it when I talk to a patient, just to confirm all the steps so that any lifestyle changes can also be made. So this one is very, very important in naturopathy. Why I would say is, a person may always come to you with lower back pain and you will be giving him acupuncture every day. And after one session of acupuncture, he may feel better and then he'll go home. Next day, he'll same come to you with acupuncture for like with pain in lower back. The reason might be anything. The reason might be there is a pain, there is some vertebral disturbance, or the reason could just be that he doesn't have any physical exercise and he sits in a wrong posture throughout the day. So to analyze all those, I do this lifestyle analysis. And once there will be this slight lifestyle changes which you can make in that patient, and that itself will prove as a very good treatment for him of ridding of whatever disease he has. So in this lifestyle diagnosis, what I basically ask is their schedule from morning to evening, and what they'll be like, okay, by 9 o'clock I have my breakfast. If they stop there, please ask, don't forget to ask, what kind of breakfast do you have? And if they say I eat this and this, that may also be fabrication. So you ask, what breakfast did you have today? So that will give you a view of whether there is a balanced diet. Is he taking enough of proteins? Is he taking enough of carbohydrates or minerals? That will be based on modern nutrition. And based on naturopathy, see if he has taken all the three major food groups, that is vegetables and fruits, the seeds and nuts, and cereals and lentils, along with dairy products. So these major groups also you have to see if the patient is always having. Throughout the schedule, also ask, when are the times you usually drink water? Because drinking water or avoiding drinking water is one major cause for most of the diseases which a patient has. And since water also helps in flushing out of toxins, when you include water in their diet voluntarily, that will help better in that person. So once you have concluded with this lifestyle diagnosis and finished everything, then you come for your differential diagnosis in naturopathy. So in naturopathy, in differential diagnosis, instead of writing it as rheumatoid arthritis or sciatica or cervical spondylitis, always start writing it based on 5 elements. So now you have measured their pulse, you've also taken their iris, you've also asked them their questions. From all of this, you will be able to conclude which element is deficient in that person or which element is hyperactive in that patient. So every time you write differential diagnosis based on naturopathy, I want you all to just write 5 elements in the left, that is fire, water, earth, metal, and wood. Write all those things based on 5 elemental theory, not space and air. Add metal and wood instead, and write which is active, which is deficient, and also check their physical activity level and their water intake. Once you've taken all of this and written the differential diagnosis in naturopathy, that will help you decide what kind of treatment will be better for that person. Again, if it is any treatment related to the respiratory system, and if the person is having respiratory disorders, along with your diagnosis of pulse weakening in the metal element, no matter how much ever hydro packs you give, unless or until you give pranayama for that person, you will not see very good results. So that is how you will always determine the treatments based on naturopathy diagnosis, which I'll be teaching in the next class. But today, as of now, let us see what naturopathic diagnostic methods which we can use in our regular life. Instead of just making it as an allopathic case discussions, it is always very good to use our own system of diagnosis. So what I would suggest is, from tomorrow, once you've concluded for the systemic examination, which I have taught yesterday, start taking iris and pulse. Facial diagnosis, you will obviously be able to see when they walk inside. When you're checking a gait, you can also check their encumbrance. And there are certain other encumbrance factors which you'll be seeing, that is their hairline, if they have any lines on the neck, or if the fat accumulated in their neck, or the skin's tone and the skin's color, if there is a lot of wrinkles in the skin, or if there is any acne present in that person. All these things also will help you identify what kind of health that particular person has. And one more very important and interesting point to note is, when a person usually says he has pain here or in this particular region, always try to analyze which meridian of acupuncture is flowing through that particular point wherever he says the pain is. So if you could identify the meridian, for example, if the large intestine is flowing through here or something like that, if you're able to identify and the pain is there only in that particular region, it is always better to give in that meridian only. That itself will give you results. Also, whenever a patient has constipation or something which is not usually shown on the outside, like a very milder constipation, but it will still cause a lot of difficulties in that patient, like fatigue, malaise and all, look for any skin discoloration of where the meridian flows. Always look for these minor points. We usually miss it out. We'll be like, okay, there is a wound over here, I don't care, but pericardium may be flowing right here, and there will be some weakness in that patient in that particular meridian. When you tweak that meridian with acupuncture, it will be a very good treatment. You will never know how it will help the patient, but that treatment or that kind of diagnosis has worked. I have given those treatments and it is very good. You can always use it in your regular diagnosing methods. Then the next one will be, yes, one important point is fire minor. We usually tend to avoid these two meridians. We never take pericardium and triple warmer. We usually be like, okay, fire minor, we always have fire major. What of these? Fire minor is very important when it comes to regulation of body temperature. During COVID, we have seen the fever, that is fever and chills is very common. And this pandemic, I would suggest being prepared with fire minor meridian, that is the points pericardium 4 and everything, will help very well for fevers or chills. You should know which meridian to give. So any dysregulation in body temperature, there will be fire minor involvement present in that particular person. For example, if that person has an autoimmune disease and always have evening chills, you can check, evening fevers or allergy because of which he has morning fevers, you can always check their fire minor and you will find that particular meridian is either deficient or hyperactive. So there is no way you can help in temperature regulation of the body, like other than correcting the fire minor element. Once you correct the fire minor element, it will be very helpful. Again, correcting can either be acupuncture, acupressure, reflexology, or through hydrotherapy. Anyway, you can correct the body regulation. But to identify that this has something to do with internal body temperature regulation, check for fire minor. This can be used as a confirmatory test. Instead of just, checking the temperature with thermometer or surface thermometers, those are all modern techniques, but we have something traditional. For body temperature, always look for fire minor. Fire minor will be in your right hand, the third location. See, the third location which we place our ring finger on. So that will be fire minor meridian. Always check. Even now you can use it as an assignment. You can go home if you know people with fever, or if people are working as COVID warriors, just check for fire minor. I mean, if it is all sanitized and safe, you can check for fire meridian in the fire minor meridian in that particular person and look for results. And the next one will be, anytime there is inflammation in that particular person. Fire minor is because of temperature. If there is inflammation, that is increase in lymphocytes or increase in the ESR levels, you can always check for any congestion in metal meridian. Metal is usually associated with inflammation or immune complexes which is formed because of inflammation basically. So in a rheumatoid arthritic patient or in an SLE patient, you will see that the metal is obviously active. For people with chronic illnesses, you will see that metal meridian is highly active and the intensity is so high. So those things also you can use for confirmation. Why I will tell is, when a patient with RA or SLE comes to you, there might be either inflammation currently taking place or past inflammation which has caused that particular symptom. Frozen shoulder or this elbow joint is completely stiff. So to know if there is active inflammation happening or not, one thing will be checking the temperature of the joint. The next will be you can check for metal meridian. If it is hyperactive, you can conclude with naturopathy diagnosis saying, yes, this particular patient has active inflammation taking place because their metal meridian is accumulated. So these ways you can relate everything to naturopathic diagnosis. If you're not able to confirm, there will be a lot of times when person comes with you with a confirmed to you with a confirmed diagnosis. They usually come with the MRI and say, I have so and so disease, or they'll come with the blood report and say, I have diabetes for so many days. But there are some people who will be clueless. They'll be coming for the first time. They'll just say, I have this, I don't know what it is. So even after you question all of modern diagnosis and you're not able to get a conclusive picture, these pulse diagnosis and this lifestyle questionnaire, which I asked you to ask them, will help you in concluding what it is. Even if you're not able to to a conclusive diagnosis at the end of the day, you will be able to conclude which element is high or low. And based on that, you can give treatment and the person will feel better. See, naturopathy, we never say this particular disease is this one only. We always say it is lowered vitality or abnormality in the bodily fluids. So you can, instead of putting it as a case of diabetes or a case of sciatica, you can just say a case of congested earth element, which can be treated with naturopathy. Those kind of ways is how you do naturopathic diagnosis. Okay, so this is as far as a comprehensive study on naturopathic diagnosis while taking a case. If any of you have a doubt, you can ask me on the audio. If you feel shy to asking the audio, you can obviously send it through the chat. I can see that and answer you too. Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Participants, you can unmute yourself or you can put your questions in the chat box. So, ma'am, I have a question.
Yes.
So it's like you told that some people come with their reports of their case history. So do you think it is valid or useful to spend the time to give an entire examination, or should we channelize our examination to relevant areas alone?
Yes. See, if they come with a confirmed diagnosis of what they already have, what you can do is, if the symptoms also correlate with that particular diagnosis, then you need not spend any time on the report, or you need not take a complete systemic examination. You can just ask questions if they have any other complaints too. But if you suspect that there might be anything extra other than that, that this is not the cause for this particular complaint, you can always do a complete naturopathic diagnosis, is what I would say. Because naturopathic diagnosis just check if it is complete relevant with what the modern diagnosis they're having. And again, once you have completed the naturopathic diagnosis, if that coincides with the disease, then you can confirm it. So that is how you can split the time.
Thank you, ma'am. There is a question in the chat box.
Yes.
It's from Sanjana Vasist. Can you please explain the steps of pulse diagnosis again?
Okay. So pulse diagnosis, basically, the how we usually start is ask the patient to sit with their back straight and remove their watches or any bands which they have in their hands. So now you take their hand and then you start with examination. So always check for the radial side, that is the thumb side, and then palpate your styloid process, the radial styloid process. Once you've palpated that, from there move inwards. So that will be the middle pulse, and one finger above, one finger below, that will be your location of all the three pulses. That is 1, 2, and 3. So once you have found out the location of pulse, either you can take all three simultaneously if you are comfortable with it, or you can take your time one by one, take each pulse. First, take the superficial pulse, that will be step 1, and then you go for deep pulse. Again, superficial pulse is where you place your fingers flat on the area where you're going to palpate for the pulse. Deep pulse is when you can just tilt your fingers a little and press it inside, and then you will be able to feel the deep pulse. So once you have seen the deep pulse, I want you to check for the speed, that is the rate at which the beats are going on, and the force of each different pulse, that is the intensity. So based on these two, you can rate them. Speed is at 5 or between 1 to 10, just rate them and tabulate them. After tabulating them, finally you check for something called either congestion or deficiency. There is particular cases where there will be no pulse how much ever time you look for, or it will be a very, very feeble pulse. That will be deficiency of that particular element. And congestion is where there only in that particular location there's high accumulation of blood going on, which causes the pulse to kind of be different in your fingers, like a mountain formation kind of thing it forms. So that will be congestion. So those particular points you can mark it as congestion, and those particular elements where it was very, very feeble, you can mark it as deficient. So this is how you usually diagnose a pulse, and also check for the timings such that the patient is empty stomach. So this will be the steps for pulse diagnosis in a patient.
Adire has a question. Adire, can you unmute yourself? Okay. She wants you to elaborate on lifestyle diagnosis.
Yeah, so lifestyle diagnosis is basically, it's not a tabulated or a referenced form, which everybody is following right now, but I just do it on my own. So what I start with, it is just a series. So you start basically with their schedule. Start asking them as soon as you wake up in the morning, what is the time that you wake up and what do you usually do? So along with these, when you ask for the schedule and ask them what they do, also check for the physical exercises and their bowel and bladder movement along with their thirst. Once you ask those things, when they'll be like, I eat breakfast at 9. Don't just stop there. So ask them what kind of breakfast they eat and at what time they eat. Do they drink water or do they not drink water during the breakfast when they have it? All those questions you can ask. Just it is like adding dietary analysis. So once you're adding dietary analysis inside, you can either base it on modern dietary analysis or the naturopathic way. So modern will be like stating how much level of proteins they're having or carbohydrates or minerals. Again, when I say how much level of proteins, you need not sit and calculate the level of proteins in their diet. You yourself will know if a person is having a balanced diet or not based on percentages of proteins. So that is more than enough. And if it is modern, you can go for protein carbohydrate. If you're more comfortable with naturopathy, go for food groups. Food groups is basically in naturopathy, we say fruits and vegetables will be one. The second one will be nuts and seeds. The third will be coming for cereals and pulses, along with dairy products. If they are vegan, avoid dairy products. So these three questions also you can add in that lifestyle questionnaire. So once you conclude all those, also check for their sleeping patterns. Do they have a nap in the afternoon or do they only sleep at night? Do they wake up fresh? You can always like compare these questions which your previously asked questions and see if they are all right. If everything goes through, then it is okay. The only reason we usually the only reason why we usually relate this lifestyle illness is because you want to see whether the answers which they've given is correct or not, and also if they are not fabricating the details to you. Usually patients tend to yes. So that is what we usually do in lifestyle diagnosis. Okay, there is another question. Is naturopathy diagnosis needs blood reports and MRI? So blood reports and MRI does not come under naturopathic diagnosis. All of those comes under modern diagnosis. Those will be coming under your confirmatory tests which you do after your differentials. See, the only reason why we do blood reports is when you are not confirmed about your diagnosis. See, so what I usually tend to do is check their blood report and see if it is in correspondence with my pulse diagnosis. If both are also correct and corresponding, then you can always prefer only naturopathic diagnosis. But if you still have a doubt, you still have a need that let me check MRI for confirmation, then you can obviously go for MRI or blood reports.
I guess we have come to the end of today's session. Thank you so much, ma'am. So make sure you join us in the next third day series of this webinar tomorrow, 6:30 p.m. Thank you. Participants are now free to leave the session. Thank you.